Are you looking for a space where you will learn to improve your mental strength, emotional health, and heal your insecurities from the inside out? Take the first step to living a more meaningful life with the Better Me with Body by Bree podcast. I'm your host, Bree. I'm a certified personal trainer, entrepreneur, and mother of 3. I've helped empower thousands of women to take action through fitness, nutrition, meditation, personal development, and aligning thoughts with action. This podcast is for those who are ready to feel inspired and motivated to live a more purposeful life. Let's grow together. In today's world, the stats from RAINN are that 1 in 4 children will be sexually assaulted at some point in their life. And that's really scary, right? That's only the reports of children who actually are reported. So it's actually a lot higher than that. And I wanted to have an open conversation about how to help our children be prepared and not scared. So I brought on my friend Robyn Warner, and Robyn's biggest passion in life is empowering, protecting, and educating women and children on safety and defense. And when Robyn was 18, she was brutally sexually assaulted while running along a path, and her attacker is now serving a 15-year to life sentence in prison. And Robyn really has so many resources to help all women and children feel prepared, not scared, through her online safety course and advocacy work. And she has agreed to help us out today, and she's amazing. She's also really funny. She's like one of the funniest people that I know. You can find her like dancing in public or singing loudly in the grocery store or doing old team drill military moves. Like, she's just really funny, and she has an awesome Instagram, and I can't wait for you guys to hear from her. Hi, Robyn. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Hi, Bree. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have been trying to get together for a while now because I'm like pretty much obsessed with you and your mission. And I think everyone needs to hear what you have to share. So thank you for coming.
I appreciate it. And I just love and adore what you're doing as well. And I'm really honored to be here.
Thank you. So, Robyn, for those who don't know you, can you give us a little background about yourself and just kind of what you do?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I am a mother and wife. I have 4 really young children and a husband who is busy as an entrepreneur. I call myself a serial entrepreneur because I love starting businesses. I've started and sold a dance studio here in Utah. That was a decade of my life, and since then I have started several other things, and I'm currently owning or co-owning 4 different businesses. And so entrepreneurship is a passion of mine. And my favorite business, and the one that I devote most of my time to, is safety advocacy for women and children. It's called Safe by Robyn. And it is something that I am so passionate about, and I'm grateful that I have the platform to share so widely. But basically, it's all about empowering and protecting women and kids, and that is what I do full time in addition to being a mom and running a few other small businesses.
You're like Superwoman. Seriously, how do you do it all?
Oh, I don't. I'm sometimes a hot mess. I have that 10 extra pounds I can't lose. My house is messy sometimes. Most of the time I'm not sleeping. It's really not healthy, but I just can't not do it all. I love it so much.
That's why people love you so much, because you are so relatable, and what you see is what you get. And you're like, this is who I am. And I love it so much. Like, people just gravitate towards you and your energy. So I think it's working for you. And I love that. And I do have to say, you guys, I'm sorry. I have a cold. So I kind of sound a little raspy today. But we're going to push through. That's okay. So
you're sounding great.
So Robyn, I love how you talk about not just safety, but safety in all areas, like including safety in dating and women's self-defense and children. And I love the line you always say, be prepared, not scared. It's amazing. And you're empowering so many women. That's just amazing.
Thank you.
Um,
That's my motto, prepared not scared.
Yes, I love that. So today we're actually going to focus on children and how to have those difficult conversations so that they're prepared and not scared. Because I was reading, and you can quote me if I'm wrong, but I was looking it up on the RAIN website, and it said that the statistic today is that 1 in 5 girls will experience sexual assault and 1 in 20 boys will experience, and that 96% of cases reported are from someone they actually know. Do you feel like that's pretty accurate?
So it's funny, RAIN, which stands for rape, abuse, incest, and neglect, is definitely the best way, like they're the most accurate in terms of collecting statistics, but I actually know that those are not true because I personally have had the opportunity to talk with tens of thousands of women, and I have had just my own self hundreds of women come to me saying that they had been raped or molested or abused and they had never reported it. So I know it's not 1 in 5. I know it's much higher. 1 in 5 is just what gets reported. And unfortunately, this is one of the most underreported crimes, and so it's actually much higher than that.
Yeah, I believe that because I have my own friends that they've never told anybody,
Right.
and I'm like, I feel like maybe it's more like 1 in 3. Like from
Oh yeah.
talking to people now that we're older and maybe have a little more self-confidence and can be a little more open about it, it's like, oh yeah, this did happen to me. And I feel like it's more often than not you hear that it has happened, which is heartbreaking. Like the statistics are so heartbreaking and hard to hear, but it's also a conversation that we need to have so that if we know those are the stats, we need to prepare our children to know what to look for.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes we feel like ignorance is bliss if we look away or we don't think it's happening where we live or in our neighborhoods, then we're safer. And ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is actually just ignorance. You're making yourself more of a target. You're being less aware because you don't think that this is happening around you, or that this could happen to you or one of your family members. So by becoming aware and prepared, we're actually making ourselves less of a target, and we're empowering and keeping ourselves safer. So it's really important that we don't turn a blind eye and think that this will never happen to us, because 1 in 3, I mean, you name off how many friends or nieces or aunts or cousins you have, and I'm sure there's already going to be a handful that it's already happened to.
Right, exactly. So, Robyn, why did you make this your mission to talk about?
So, how I got into safety advocacy is probably not the most funnest way. I actually was sexually assaulted and attacked when I was 18 years old while running on a trail, and it was pretty horrific and really serious. And my attacker is now serving a 15-year to life sentence in the Utah State Prison. And after that happened, I just immediately started taking numerous different types of self-defense classes because I just wanted to see like what I did wrong, what I did right, and I wanted to learn anything and everything I could about self-defense and safety so I could prepare those that I love around me. That's what it really started as, is just like I never want to have my sister or my best friend or my mom or aunt ever have to go through what I just went through. So I want to learn so I can protect them. And from there, it just grew and grew. My passion started burning deeper for I want every woman and every girl to hear this message and to be prepared. And so that's how it started. And obviously, my initial experience was I was running alone, and that's when I was attacked and sexually assaulted. But my safety advocacy has broadened through the past 12 years of me doing this full time to kind of becoming the guru in all things self-defense. I'm obviously very passionate about all kinds, but specifically children, because I do have 4 kids, and it's really, really important. And so that's how I got into the safety world, which is not the most ideal way, but just by taking my experience and trying to change it into using it for good and protecting other women is how I've been able to heal. And I'm really grateful that this is what I get to do.
That's beautiful. And whenever it comes from a place like that where it's personal to you, that's when it's powerful. And that's when people can really feel it. And you can feel that from you, like you genuinely care. So,
Yeah, I do care, and sometimes sometimes I get so obsessed and passionate about safety, which is not the most like fun topic to talk about. So I really I feel like I use it with my personality, which is super light and funny. And if you follow me on my social media, which is called a fly on my wall, because you literally will be a fly on the wall and you'll see it all. I get really dead serious when I want to teach and educate on safety, and then the next day I get super lighthearted and funny because I feel like there just has to be a balance, because the things that I'm teaching and talking about, they're heavy and they're hard to talk about and discuss. And so um, I, I think it's interesting that I have the personality that I do, that I can talk about really hard things, but then be able to laugh and smile and kind of take the edge off some of these things that can be pretty
yes,
burdening.
definitely. And so let's talk about safety with children. So you recently did a story on your Instagram that I loved. You have safety tips, little safety tip videos, and it was titled "Stop Teaching Your Kids About Stranger Danger." And I was like, wait, what? Why would you not want to teach your kids about stranger danger? And it was genius. So why do you say this, Robyn? Why do you say that? Stop teaching
Yeah.
your kids
So,
about stranger danger.
um, stranger danger is the universal way that all of us were taught about potential threats or people that could hurt us as kids. And the reason I feel like we should stop teaching our kids about that is because stranger danger is not the most effective way to protect or educate our kids, because it is way more likely, like you said, 96% chance that something is going to happen um, by someone you know. It's more likely that our kids are going to be hurt, abused, molested by someone we love or know in our trusted circle of friends. So that immediately eliminates a stranger. So when our kids are hurt or abused by someone they know, they've never been educated on this because that person isn't a stranger. And for sure, there can be strangers that are dangerous. And so how I teach it is called tricky people, which I'm sure we'll get into. But that includes not only strangers, like we think of like the creepy old person following us or the man hiding behind the trash can. Like it can include someone we don't know and someone who's a stranger, but it also includes the people we love and know. And sometimes a stranger could actually be the one to save you from a tricky person. So I just feel like stranger is not teaching our kids really about who is going to be the biggest threat to them. And so that's why I know I don't teach my kids about stranger danger, and I encourage others not to. Instead, teach our kids about tricky people or a
So how do
tricky
you,
person.
yes, I love how you call it tricky people. So how do you identify a tricky person?
So there is a list of things that a tricky person does. And the first thing is that a tricky person can be someone you know and love. And it can also be someone you've never seen, which is kind of more like a stranger, like someone you are unfamiliar with. A tricky person will tell you to keep a secret or that you guys do special things with one another. A tricky person will ask your child to lie. A tricky person takes the child away from mom and dad without permission. They touch them inappropriately. They try to quote unquote trick them. A tricky person can be an adult who's asking a child for help, but a tricky person can even be someone your same age. So, there's so many cases reported of a cousin that's the same age as a kid molesting another. So it doesn't have to be just an adult. A tricky person tries to tell you that they're going to hurt someone you love if you tell about this. And that's how I feel it's so important to teach about tricky people, because a stranger is just someone you never met, approaches you, tries to hurt you. But a tricky person includes everyone. It includes your family members, it includes friends, it includes people you've never met, but it's all encompassing on how to identify a threat. You're teaching your kid how to identify a threat and then giving them very specific directions on what it looks like, what this person might do. So then if it happens, they know immediately to come and tell mom or dad, because that was a tricky thing. That was a tricky person.
Hmm. I love that. I love how you um, give them all the examples, because sometimes they might not even think that that's a possibility. And so if you give them the examples, if it has happened before, they're not embarrassed to talk about it, or they can just be aware of it. Like, oh, this is what my mom was talking about. Like I need to tell
Right.
her. So you're preparing them.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes when you're abused or molested by someone you know or love, and they're telling you, hey, this is our secret, we don't tell mom and dad because I love you, I'm your uncle and I love you, then they might even just not even think it's a problem.
Right. Exactly. They can totally be brainwashed into that.
Yeah, they can be tricked
Yes.
100%.
So let's talk about secrets versus surprises. That's another one. What's the difference and how do you explain this to your children?
Yeah, so I teach my kids and I teach parents to educate their kids on secrets versus surprises. So what the difference is. So a secret is never good. Like think about all the times you've ever kept a secret. It's usually not good, right? And so I teach my kids like if someone asks you to keep a secret, immediately that's a red flag. We don't keep secrets. We have surprises. So like when mom and dad um have a big trip to Disneyland that we're giving to our kids, it's a surprise when we let them know because it's good and it doesn't hurt anybody. So I always teach my kids like no secrets are good. If a friend comes to you and asks to keep their secret, like if a friend came to me as a kid and said, "Hey, my dad's abusing me, please keep it a secret." If I would have had permission from my mom to say it's never okay to keep a secret, you tell me, I probably would have, gone to my mom and been like, someone asked me to keep a secret and this is what it was. Um, because also a lot of people will keep other people's secrets. Like sometimes kids will get brave enough to reach out to even just one person in a plea for help that they need help. And then that person never tells anyone because they want to keep it a secret or they want to have their friend trust them. And so we can save other kids too by teaching our kids like if anyone ever comes and tells you something and asks you to keep it a secret, even if it's their best friend, like you need to tell mom or dad because we can help or save someone else. And if an adult ever asks you to keep a secret, like it's never good. An adult should never ask you to keep a secret ever, ever, ever.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much. And it's hard because, like you said, when you differentiate and you're like, oh, a surprise is this, a secret is this, then I think it maps it out more in their mind. Like it
Yeah.
differentiates.
A surprise is something that will always be revealed. So like
Yes.
I might keep it to myself that I'm going to surprise my kids with a puppy, but at some point in time, it will always be divulged that they got a puppy and it was something positive and good. Whereas a secret is not good. It's meant to be kept forever and never divulged. And it gives you bad, icky feelings. That's kind of that's how I tell it is like a surprise is exciting and good. It doesn't hurt anybody. And eventually it'll be told. And a secret is meant to never be known. It's not good. It hurts someone and we don't keep secrets.
I love that. And what do you feel like there's a certain age that you need to start having these conversations? Like I'm thinking about my kids and I'm like, I've had conversations like, don't let anyone ever touch your private area, but I haven't sat and
Mhm.
talked about tricky people and, secrets for like when do you start these conversations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's actually probably one of the most asked questions I get is when do I start teaching my kids and what does it actually look like? So obviously it's going to be at your own discretion, your own comfort level and the maturity of your kids. But for me and what I really recommend is I start talking to my kids about tricky people and the basics of self-defense when they literally leave my nest, which means preschool. When they are leaving my house for a certain amount of time where I am not watching over them, they are under other people's supervision. And it's not like you just go full all in and teach them all about everything self-defense, but it's a good place to introduce. So how I kind of do it is when they're 4 years old, I just start with a simple prompt like this. And I ask my 3-year-old, hey, what does the mailman look like? And they'll say, oh, he looks like this. What does a firefighter look like? They'll tell me, what does a firefighter do? What does a ballerina look like? What does a ballerina do? And I'll go through a couple different stereotypes of people. And then I'll say, what does a tricky person look like? And obviously it's going to be really interesting what you see their answer, but then you just opened up the door to be like, let me tell you what a tricky person looks like. A tricky person actually looks like it could be anyone. It could be someone you know. It could be someone you've never seen. It could be someone who looks very friendly. It could be someone who looks very mean. But the most important part is what a tricky person does. And what a tricky person does is, and then I go down the list, they ask you to keep a secret, they ask you to lie, they take you away from mom or dad, they touch you inappropriately, they try to trick you, they can hurt you. And then I just go through that, and it's very basic. And then I just let them. Sometimes, I mean, I have 4 kids, so I've done this 4 times, and sometimes the kids will ask questions further, and other times they'll just be like, okay, and move on. And then as they get older and situations arise, then we start talking about it more. Like, um, when I'm leaving on vacation and my kids are going to stay at grandma and grandpa's, though I trust my parents, I still know that I need to educate my kids. So then we talk about, hey, mom and dad are going away. When I'm gone, it's not okay to ever like have anyone pull you in a different room in the middle of the night. And we love grandma and grandpa, but again, it doesn't matter like how much we love them. If they do any of these tricky things, that's not okay. And so then opportunities will start arising when you can talk about it more. But it starts as simple as just talking about what a tricky person looks like. And again, I do it at the age of 3 or 4, and I just do it by asking them about other types of people and have them tell me what they look like. And then I introduce the method of the tricky person.
I love that. I love that you walked me through that. I'm like, okay, I can do that. That's a
Yeah.
conversation I can have. That's not so scary.
It's not so scary. And a lot of parents are always like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. And so use that tip. And actually something that's really exciting is I have been working on writing a children's book actually about tricky people. And it's meant for a parent to have a child sit on their lap and read this book about a kid who encounters all sorts of different people and encounters a tricky person and what that looks like. And so the book is going to be a really good resource for parents if they don't feel comfortable or just reiterating what a tricky person is, to introduce that as well.
That's genius, Robyn. You are an entrepreneur.
Well, I just am
Wow.
so passionate about it, and writing a book, I thought I could just whip it on now, and we're 2 years into the process now, so it's not done yet, but it's actually making some big headway. And so hopefully 2022, is that the year we're coming on?
I know,
Hopefully
right?
the book will be done by then, and I think that will really help empower parents and kids.
With all your extra time. That's
I know that's been the craziest part. I'm like, when do I have time? But
that's
I'm
amazing.
making time.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to help so many people with that. I love that. So, to back up, I have a question. Like, we don't personally do sleepovers in our house because of this. Like, I just never know,
Mhm.
like, if an older brother's going to come or a guest that I don't know or whatever. Do
Right.
you have any rules of sleepovers in your home?
We're the same. No sleepovers. So nothing good ever happens from sleepovers. My parents allowed me to have sleepovers growing up, and I can remember numerous times where, I mean, luckily I never had any terrifying experiences, but like we were sneaking out or staying up late or learning things we shouldn't learn, or like
Mhm.
nothing good ever happens as a sleepover. I have made a couple exceptions where cousins are allowed to come to our house sometimes, but
Right.
even then I stay pretty firm on my rule just because. But I can't say that my kids have never had a sleepover, but I mean, probably my oldest is 10 and she can probably count on one hand how many times.
Right.
So yeah, we don't do sleepovers either. We do a lot of late nights. So we don't
Yes.
like
Yeah, that's
if my
great.
if my kid
Yeah.
wants to have, because that's the thing is I'm like, listen, if you want to stay up till 11 or 12 at night, that's fine. But like, no, like once it's time for bed, nothing good ever happens anyways. You should just go to bed. So late nights.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. So, tell me, you talk also on one of your safety tips. What's the difference between screaming versus yelling?
Yeah. So this is something that I really feels important. And once you kind of learn about it, it's one of those like aha moments. So screaming and yelling are not the same thing. So how many times have you been outside at the park or walking and you hear a kid just screaming? Like probably all the time. They're messing around, they're goofing around, there's a nearby park. And when you hear that, it doesn't alert you to do anything. You don't think anyone's in danger. But how many times have you been outside and you heard someone yelling call to action words like, help, I'm being raped. This is not my dad. I'm being kidnapped. Probably if you've ever heard that, you would immediately, try to help. You'd call 911, or you would try to help this person. And so screaming is the most natural way any of us will alert for help. So there's fight, flight, or freeze. And most of the time, a lot of us will freeze actually. But there will be a moment when you unfreeze. And what you need to do is you need to yell call to action words where you are, what's happening, and what you need. And I have done this, I call it a little research project hundreds of times, probably to thousands and thousands of women. And I say the same thing. And kids, especially, if you could go home and try this on your kids, and I'm sure you'll get a similar experience, but I'll say, hey, what would you do if someone is trying to kidnap you? And the kid will come up with all sorts of answers. Sometimes they'll be crazy, and other times they'll get to the conclusion of they would make some sort of noise. And I'd say, yes, that's great. Like, show me what you would do. And always, 99.9% of the time, they will just start screaming, ah! And I let them know that is really great that you were able to scream. Sometimes that can scare off someone who's trying to hurt you. But I want you now to yell your name, your location, and what's happening to you. Ready, go. It is dead silent every single time. It is not natural to yell your name, your location, and what is happening. Like, almost every single person will completely freeze up. So I practice with my kids, and as I travel around, I practice with women and kids to train yourself to yell words. So like every 3 months, I have an activity with my kids, and now they're like, oh my gosh, mom, we know to yell words. They think it's like so stupid and boring now. But I'll say, okay, for 30 seconds, I want you guys to yell your name and your location, and I am being kidnapped. Ready, go. And they'll hesitate, and it'll be hard. And then the more you do it, the more they become comfortable. The more you do it, the more it becomes natural instinct. The more you do it, the more they feel prepared. And that's how we train ourselves to actually yell for help instead of just screaming.
I love that. I love that you're preparing them for that. I was thinking like, oh, that'd be hard for me even. Like I would freeze up.
Yeah, almost every single person will
Yeah.
likely freeze up. And when you unfreeze, that's when it really counts. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to yell for help? Are you going to scream? And of course, any sort of noise I encourage, like if you just do scream, that's better than nothing. But if we can prepare ourselves now and from a young age to actually call for help, our chances are so much higher someone will help us.
Definitely. Definitely. I love that. So, do you have advice for when you hire a babysitter? Like we have cameras set up all over our house, and I
I
tell my
love it.
babysitter like, just so you know, we have cameras set up all over. They're on. Like
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
them in every bedroom, like I have them in every living room area. But do you have any like babysitter tips?
Yeah, I have actually like a whole segment on babysitting safety in my course, as well as like a printable that you can leave with the babysitter to keep her safe as well. But two sides of the coin to this. So obviously, keeping your kids safe from the babysitter. You can put cameras, nanny cams in your house, let them know like you're watching and you check in. Obviously, you need to vet your babysitters, like make sure you're finding them through like trusted places, preferably someone you know. Um, checking in with your kids after and before, like, it's totally appropriate to say to your kids, like, remember, like, even though so and so's our babysitter, like, if there's any tricky business, like, you need to let mom know after. And then asking your kids after, like, how was the babysitter? Is there anything that happened that made you feel uncomfortable? Was she nice? Did you like her? Just kind of checking in like that. And then on the flip side, there's a whole nother coin that is how to keep your babysitter safe while she's babysitting your kids. So I leave a document that is super descriptive to my babysitter. And the first thing is that a lot of us will tell our babysitters like a whole bunch of instructions on how to put the kids to bed, how to feed them, all these things. And then when we walk out the door, those babysitters likely forget everything. So the first big thing is always have it written down. So you can give it to them verbally, but then have it written down. So I have this thing called the Babysitter Bible, and it has everything that my babysitter needs to know. The first thing it has is me and my husband's name. And that seems so basic, but like sometimes maybe your babysitters only know you as the Warners and they don't specifically know your name. Then I put my kids' names and their ages. Again, they probably know like your kids, but just in case they needed to call for help, I put our address on it because though, at least for me, my babysitters are typically people that live near me or in my neighborhood. If one of my kids started choking, they call 911. They have no idea what my address is. And though they can say, well, this is my address, I'm 5 houses down, I want help to get to my house immediately. So I write down my address and I go through this and I tell my babysitter, I say, this is my address. If you ever needed to call 911 for anything, here it is. And that not only just tells them my address, but it gives them permission to be like, if you need to call 911, like, I am okay with you doing that. Um, and then I give them like super strict, like super detailed instructions. Like if we have any allergies, if we have any injuries, I talk about how I want the kids to be fed and where it's appropriate for them to eat and what time their bedtime is. Just, and that's like less about safety, but just about a really good experience for that babysitter and your kids. And then something I always end with is I always let them know, like, hey, I am not expecting anyone at the door, so please don't answer it. So again, it lets them know, like, hey, if someone's knocking on the door, don't answer it. And I'm not going to be mad at you because you didn't answer it. Because I remember being like a babysitter growing up, and like when the doorbell rings or the phone, I'm like, oh, should I get that? Will I be mad? Were they expecting someone? So I just let them know immediately, like, I'm not expecting anyone, so don't answer the door. I also tell them, like, specifically, like, please don't take the kids anywhere or leave the house. Like if you want to play in the backyard, that's fine. Because I one time I didn't get as specific, and I did have a babysitter take my kids on a walk, which seems fine, but she stayed out too late and ended up having to walk my 4 kids home in the middle of like, it was dark outside, and that made me feel really uncomfortable. So I let them know, like, please don't leave the house. Um, and then I always say, here's my cell phone number. Text me or call me for anything. Nothing is too dumb. Nothing is, you're not going to ruin my date if you call or text me. And that again gives them permission to not be like, I don't want to ruin their day. I don't want to bug them, but I really do have this question that I need answered. So I leave all that on a document, and then it just keeps everyone safer and has a better experience.
I love that. You are definitely an entrepreneur because that's very catchy, like babysitter Bible. Like you're
Yeah.
so good. I love that. And that's like so helpful for moms to know. I never
Yeah.
get that specific. I'm like, see you later, kids. Have fun. We'll go to bed at 8.
Yeah. Well, that's I have gotten more specific as time goes on, but I remember early on I had an experience where I told the babysitter, like, I thought I told her specifically what I needed to do. And after the fact, I came home and I said something, like, not trying to be rude or anything, but I was just like, oh, the kids are still awake. That's great. And the babysitter's mom called me a few days ago, or a few days later, and was like, were you upset that so and so didn't put your kids to bed? Because she said you came in and were shocked that the kids were still awake, and like it hurt her feelings. She didn't know the kids were supposed to be in bed. And I was like, oh no, I didn't care, but like I could see how, so now I'm just like really specific. Like if I want them to put the kids to bed, then I let them know. If I don't, then I'm like, hey, don't worry about putting the kids to bed, just so like those babysitters want to come back and still babysit for my kids. And I feel like by doing this and setting the expectations and being really clear, I can keep the same babysitter around, which then again is more safe than like always finding someone new and always having to
Yes.
start over the process. So yeah, I'm pretty freaking specific with my babysitter, and they actually like it. Like everyone always says, like, we like to babysit for the Warners because you just know like right away what she needs from you, and you know that she's not disappointed if you didn't do something.
Yeah.
And I've actually had multiple people on my Instagram message me saying, like, hey, we had a crazy experience. Someone tried to break in our house while our babysitter was there. And because I had talked to my babysitter and left the babysitter Bible, she felt confident enough to call 911. She knew our address, and like, thank you so much for this. So I know it's helping, and it might sound like a little overkill or over the top, but you can never be too safe.
Well, yeah. Well, I actually had a crazy experience with a babysitter that we had she babysat my kids for a year. And it was the weirdest thing, Robyn. I came home one day and there was like this random lady in my house, and it was her aunt.
What?
And I was like, hello? And she was like sitting, I had my kids on her lap, sitting on the couch. And I was like, hi. And my
Oh,
babysitter had been bringing her aunt around and never told me.
what
And
the heck?
and when you meet people and you just have a weird vibe, which
Uh-huh.
like I just had the weirdest vibe. I was like, "Oh, I don't like you. Like this isn't a good."
Yeah.
Like I immediately my stomach dropped and I was like, "This isn't
Ugh.
good." It was the weirdest thing. And like anyway, long story short, she had been like buying them presents and toys and candy, and she like I was like, "Olivia, why have you never told me about this lady?" She had never mentioned her name. I had no idea. This was before I had the cameras. And
Bree, that's like gives me the chills. There's actually a sign of grooming when an adult is like
yes,
buying kids presents and all that
yes,
stuff.
that's what I told Adam. I'm like, Adam, this is like she gave her like these brand new shoes. And I was like, Adam,
What
this
the
is
heck?
grooming 101 right here.
Whoa.
And I don't
Yes.
even know who this lady is. And anyway, we had let that babysitter go, obviously, because I'm like, you
Yeah.
are not allowed to bring people I don't know around my children,
Right.
not only around them, but in my house, on the couch. Like it
Uh-huh.
was just so bizarre. So I was like a freak for like a year after that. Like, I installed cameras. I was like, so anyway, I
Very rightfully so. I like have the chills about that.
I know. And she was like, I don't know, she just would buy me presents. I'm like, why? Who is this lady? And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, she just likes kids. I'm like, no, no,
Ugh.
no, no, no.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Red
And
flag.
so anyway, I had talked to her a lot, and I mean, luckily to what I know, nothing had happened, but I think it was definitely a miracle that I walked in when I did.
100%.
And so I think that all of this advice is like it can happen anywhere from anyone at any time. And you actually talk a lot about intuition, and
Yes.
like it doesn't have to make sense. Like listen to your intuition.
Yeah, intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So when you walked inside and saw that lady sitting there, you immediately knew it was not okay and you didn't need any logic. I mean, you looked in and it didn't look like a threat. She wasn't hurting your kids. She wasn't like physically touching them, but it's your natural ability to feel something is wrong, even if it goes against your reason or your logic. And intuition is our most powerful tool in identifying danger. So you 100% knew immediately your intuition told you, listen, I'm not going to give you any other reasons besides the fact that I'm telling you right now this is wrong.
Right. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like I knew immediately. Like my
Yeah.
stomach dropped. Like I was like, ugh, I don't have a good feeling.
Yeah, that's intuition. And the great thing is every single person has intuition. It's not a gift you get when you're baptized in a certain religion. It's not something that goes away at a certain time. It's not something that leaves you if you aren't doing the things you should be. Intuition is always with you, and it is your most powerful tool.
Yes, I love that. And don't be scared to use it. Like you said, like you don't have to have a reason. Like listen
Yeah,
to your gut. There's a reason why you have that feeling. I
exactly. And most of the time, logic will try to talk you out of it. So like during my leading up to my attack, I 100% had the intuition that it was going to happen. And it was clear as day. But logic talked me out of it. Logic was like, no, it's in the middle of a day on a public trail. There's people here. You just passed 10 people. There's absolutely no way this person is going to hurt you in broad daylight with people around. And my intuition's like, no, it actually is. It's going to happen. And you need to be prepared and let me help you prepare. And then my logic is like, shut up. There's no way. Like, there's logistically that this couldn't even possibly happen right now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so you have to be so careful because you have to learn to trust yourself and trust your intuition because it will always be battling logic. It'll
Mhm.
always try to talk you out of it.
Yes, I love that. And I remember even being a kid, there was this family friend that I never liked and I didn't know why. And I was just a kid. And I remember telling my mom, like, when they say, like, oh, go give so and so a hug. And I
Mm-hmm.
told her, like, I do not want to hug him. I do not like his energy. I don't know why. Like, but I couldn't vocalize it. I was just like, I don't like him. But
Yeah.
the cool part is my mom was like, okay, don't ever go around him then. Like, you don't have to, like she listened to me. But I think it's important to teach your kids too that they have intuition as well. And if they have a bad feeling around someone, listen to them and have them like, it's okay. They know what they're talking about and
Yes.
validate them.
Yeah, validate them, let them know you hear them, that their little opinion, even though they're just a kid, matters, and never force them to give hugs or goodbyes. Like I always, if we're leaving grandma's house, I tell my kids, okay, say your goodbyes. That could look like a fist pump. That could look like nothing. That could look like a high five. If they want to give them a hug, go for it. But it's like up to their own discretion on how they want to say goodbye. People to I never force my kids to hug someone for that exact reason. You're taking away their own ability to listen to their intuition.
Yes, I love that. Oh, Robyn, I could talk to you forever. I love everything you're doing, and I'm just so grateful. I think that you can really help this community to be prepared and not scared. And I love your approach. You're so funny. I love watching all of your reels. I was crying. I was laughing so hard at the one that you thought you were pregnant.
Oh my gosh. That's like real life over here. My husband has a vasectomy. I literally just came off a 6-week surgery where I'm not even supposed to be having intercourse, and I still thought I was pregnant. It's like, why did
I was laughing so hard.
yeah, like why do our periods do that? They show up late and it's like, oh, I'm instantly pregnant, even though it's like not even possible.
I know. You're just so funny. You're really entertaining. You're super relatable. And I just think you're such a light in this space and in this world. And I'm so grateful that you were here to share that with us. So
Well,
thank
that
you
means the
so
world.
much.
Thank you. And I would love to offer your listeners a special discount code for my safety course.
Oh, yes.
If they want to, they can just use, let's just say like Bree, Bree. That will save them $30 off my online self-defense course. And yeah, I would love to offer that to your community because I know you have such beautiful listeners, and I hope that it helps someone somewhere.
Thank you. What I'll do is I'll put your website, your Instagram, and then that code in the show notes so that they can go
Perfect.
check it out and see that those links are available there.
That sounds great.
And her Instagram is a fly on the wall.
Yep, a fly on my wall.
Oh, sorry, a fly on my wall.
Yes. So when you come to my page, just know you will be an actual fly on my wall. You will see all things safety, all things real life, mom life. I mean, I'm pretty open. My mom is actually mortified of me because she says I'm way too real and I shouldn't be dancing without a bra on, but you'll just see it all. You'll see it all there.
It's amazing. And that's why people love you so much. And when I'm in Utah, I want to get together. I want to hang out. I'm like, I need to just hang out with Robyn. She just seems so fun.
Please, let's go to lunch. I would love that.
Hey, thank you so much, Robyn. Have such a great day.
You too. Thank you, Bree. We'll see you later.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode. If you liked the content and want to hear more, remember to hit that subscribe button and write a review. As a small business owner, I appreciate it more than you know. If you are looking for a program to help with self-confidence, to lose weight, get in shape, and work on your mental, physical, and emotional health, check out my training programs on www.bodybybree.com. My team and I help to hold you accountable through the Body by Bree app, where you log in to see all your workouts, custom meal plan made specifically for you and your needs, and communication through the messenger. You are never alone when you're on the Body by Bree training program. Click the link in the show notes to get more information on how to transform your life from the inside out.